Welcome everyone. Today's video is going to be reviewing a little bit on the budget side JDM BFS Trout Rod. So if you want to see that, keep watching. Also comment down below what tackle you're using for trout. To start off with, this rod is made by Palms. It's the Egeria Native Performance. This is it's a glass BFS trout rod. It's a 4'4" extra ultralight. It's rated 0.8 grams to 3.5 grams and 1 to 4 pound line. So this is gonna be really good for like more on the finesse side. I fish for a lot of brook trout, and this should be perfect for those really brushy short streams that I like to fish. But I'm gonna get some casting performance. Hopefully I get a few fish, and I'm gonna give my thoughts as I'm casting as well. That feels really nice. It doesn't flick the lure out there too fast either, which I'll go over that in a little bit, why that's important. But it does effortlessly load up with this 3.5 gram lure. I probably won't spend much time with this lure, to be honest. Yeah, even like backhand or flip casting. And so you know, it's a fiberglass rod. It is going to be a little bit softer in nature. Most of your carbon rods are going to be a little bit faster, which are really good for twitching minnows, which I will try to twitch in a little bit deeper water just to see if this rod's gonna be sloppy for twitching. But something you want to look for is a lot of times carbon rods would be like, oh, about here when you're twitching, which is really nice. You get a lot of good lure control and your line's not gonna be sloppy. And a lot of your glass rods can be really, I mean, you can see that thing bends. That's not a whole lot of pressure. And it bends quite deep. So that's gonna be good for your close range if you're netting fish and they're shaking. It doesn't matter if you have monofilament, wet line, there's not enough line to absorb the shock. So you actually have a lot better chance of landing fish when you have some give in your rod. I'm gonna try to twitch from downstream coming upstream. It'll give me more resistance. I'm really gonna be able to test out the taper of that rod to see if it's gonna be too soft. These aren't the best testing conditions, just given that the water's so fast and shallow. But I do feel that the taper is actually quite crisp. I was a little bit afraid that it might just be more for spinners or for straight retrieving minnow style lures. But I feel this is even a little bit more responsive than like the Sunoria Aries that I recorded. I don't know, it was a few years ago. It's one of my favorite budget BFS trout rods. But I mean, this thing right now, it costs less than 140 US dollars over on Digitaka, and that's with free shipping as well. A lot of times when you order from, got backlash. A lot of times when you order from Japanese shops, you know, just because they are shipping overseas, a lot of times there'll be a oversized shipping charge. But Digitaka, with a lot of these two-piece trout rods, it still comes in and having free shipping, which is, I mean, quite remarkable if you ask me. But this lure here that I'm using now, this is made by Jackson. This is the Trout Tune. This is a 3 gram floating minnow. They have a few sinking models as well. Floating minnows can be a little bit difficult to cast sometimes, just because they catch a lot of wind. And sometimes if your rod is a little bit too sloppy, you can actually get a lot of backlashes that way. I mean, that's without adjusting my brakes. That thing went pretty good. I mean, it handles 3 grams just fine. I'll only fish this a little bit, and I know that a lot of people, I'm not big on using spoons, but I will cast. I do have some spoons that are just over 1 gram. Should be a pretty good test of this rod. Ooh, there we go. Even twitching that floating minnow, it felt pretty good. Something I do want to try, especially with the 3 gram minnow, usually I'm not using less than 3 grams, and I'd rather a 3 gram sinking minnow, but the distance from here to that snow over there it's a little bit wider than some of the creeks that I would be fishing this rod with. So one thing I want to test is the accuracy of the rod. and this is what I was talking about before, is having a rod that effortlessly loads up with your lure. That way you don't have to put a bunch of force into it, and then the lure goes sailing really fast, and then you have to put your thumb on the spool to just stop it all of a sudden. But it does a really good job with that, that soft presentation. All right, for this test here, from here to the snow that's on the other bank, that's a little bit wider, I think, than a lot of the streams that I fish. So what I want to test is the rod's ability to be able to gently load up and also gently release the lure. Because sometimes if you have like a really responsive rod, let's say like a carbon rod, it can flick the lure out there really well, but it's a little too fast, and a lot of times you'll have to press on your spool really fast to stop the lure, and that has you have a harder presentation, and sometimes can spook fish. So I just want to see, oh, a little too far. But it does feel really nice. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like my thumb has to catch up to the lure. So it casts it slow, it keeps that spool speed down and consistent, especially with how the Silver Creek's brakes are. It's a fixed inductor system, which I go over in different videos, but basically what that does is it's a little bit softer braking, but it's more forgiving, if that makes any sense. So we got hooks all tangled up. So with the combination of the softer casting with the glass rod with those types of brakes, it leads to a really nice, you can turn your brakes down quite low and have a fairly flat casting without having to really be have a lot of thumb control. So it's a very small spoon, and it'll catch a little bit of wind. It's not really too windy here, so I'm not overly worried about that. All right. I don't really use spoons all that often. Ooh, that was definitely my fault. It's cold out right now, so just checking if I had any ice. These guides are very small. I think that's what attributes to the rod being more responsive. There's not as much weight. All right, there we go. Ooh. That actually casts pretty nice. And this Silver Creek is completely stock as well. I would suggest using like the Royal AX24 spool if you are going to be casting really light lures like this. But this rod loads up with it quite nicely. I'm going to turn my brakes up slightly, just to be able to see if I can force the cast to get a little bit more distance. Yeah, I mean I'll try to hit the base of that tree over there. I should aim at more open water, but oh, I went up in the tree. Yeah, I wouldn't say, I can't 100% blame the rod by any means. I think if I was a little bit more gentle and I was using a little bit different, if I was using a more finesse capable spool, maybe, yeah. But the rod, I mean, for being rated down to 0.8 grams, that could be like an open water situation where you're going to be able to get more force to load up the rod. Yeah, I mean, these little backhand pitches feel better than a long cast. Yeah, that feels nice. That's definitely fishable. Like if you're fishing in streams. Yeah, that short range actually feels better than like that mid range to me. All right, so with my limited uses so far, I do really like this rod. I would suggest it if you're looking for a shorter BFS rod, especially for trout. Or this would actually work pretty good for like moving baits for like panfish and stuff too, if you use like little spinners and such. But I would recommend this. This is the Palms Egeria. This is the 4'4" extra ultralight. There are other models within this line if you are looking for a little bit more power. But I will be updating on YouTube, and also I'll make some posts on Instagram if kind of my more progressive thoughts on the rod. This is just more of my initial uses. But so far, I would recommend this rod for like that budget side for your trout BFS rods. Right, so if you want to see more BFS videos, make sure you subscribe and also comment down below what content you want to see.